Alright guys, John on here with you. It is September 23rd, about 11:30. I want to try something different here in this video, and I appreciate the outpouring of support from the PS5 pre-order rant. I'm going to try a little bit different with the audio, so let me know how everything goes. I know it's going to be a little bit interpreted as far as YouTube standards, but there's a few other things that I want to talk about as well as I'm making this video. So you talked about it, and you heard about the big news, I'm sure you all have, of Microsoft buying ZeniMax and Bethesda for $7.5 billion. So when you're talking about Elder Scrolls games, you're talking about Fallout, Doom, Rage, Wolfenstein, it's a huge deal for Microsoft in that regard. And the one thing I want to say in the sense of it, you're talking about the Xbox Series S and the Series X, and hopefully you guys got your pre-orders in for Tuesday on all of that in there. But in the grand scheme of things, when I talked about it in the PS5 rant as well, you know, with Spider-Man Miles Morales and Horizon Forbidden West also being made on the PS4. Right now, it's September 13, 2020. Consoles, especially for the Xbox, are going to be launching on November 10th, and PlayStation just a few short days after. I get that this is a big deal with the $7.5 billion for ZeniMax and Bethesda. And maybe you can say this also for Sony in certain instances. It's a good thing, but at the same time, when are you going to see a new Elder Scrolls game? When are you going to see Starfield? When are you going to see a new Fallout? I'm not talking about the Fallout 76 debacle. I'm talking about a brand new numbered game. When are you going to see the next Elder Scrolls? Maybe 2024, 2025? The one thing that I always talked about with the Xbox in the sense of it, yeah, they have some first party that are good. And even in this, if you want to call it a second party or however you want to do it, these games, these exclusives for the Series X are not going to be available to you till around 2023. So yes, they're going to be put on the Xbox Marketplace, the Game Pass, with Fallout 3 and Dishonored and Skyrim and Oblivion and stuff like that. But isn't this games that you've already played 4 or 5 times before? How many Bethesda titles have you actually finished? That was some of the other stuff that I was seeing on YouTube and other channels as well. So yes, it's a great thing. But at the same time, when I think about it, and I'll use Rare as an example, Rare was an incredible studio in a Nintendo, going all the way back to the NES. And then getting in through the specialities of having, you know, Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. It really thrived on the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64. But ever since, you know, Rare going to Microsoft and Xbox, you got a little bit of a Banjo-Kazooie game, but it wasn't the same thing. I mean, where the hell is Conker's Bad Fur Day other than a tech demo for Microsoft a few years ago? Microsoft has the money. They have that Windows money, as I talked about. But the main important thing for them is to take these studios that they finally have and turn them into something. And until that is remained to be seen, you might not be looking at all of this stuff till about 2024, 2025 as far as a new Elder Scrolls game. Now, the one thing in the sense of it that I'm excited for, when I talked about it in the video review before of The Outer Worlds, and if you hadn't played that, definitely do that. I know it's not a AAA title from Obsidian there. It's a AA one, but it's a damn good one, and it just missed out on my Game of Year of 2019, just missed out over the Resident Evil 2 remake. But in that sense, for Obsidian, what you might be looking at on Microsoft's end that could hopefully maybe be on the horizon, maybe come out before the new Elder Scrolls game, is a sequel to Fallout New Vegas. Now, I know it was riddled with bugs, but I think a lot of that has to do with Bethesda's end, not Obsidian. Because when you look at The Outer Worlds, whether you played it on PC, whether you played it on the Xbox or the PlayStation, I don't think the Switch title is coming out yet this year, but it's still going to be in development. That game was absolutely spectacular, and it was also free of all these simple bugs that always marred the release of games like Fallout. The Outer Worlds was fantastic, and even though it played like Fallout, it played like a game like that that had no bugs in particular. and it was really, really enjoyable. So as far as Microsoft's acquisitions, I think Obsidian might make a lot more sense there. But what do you guys think? Facebook.com/TBUGunslinger, Twitter @JohnRyanOtt. We also have another rumor to cover, and I know this goes back a long ways, probably 1997, early 1998. You remember those demo discs? They don't make those anymore. But if you're talking about the PlayStation, I was around 10 years old, right around the time that Pizza Hut invented the stuffed crust pizza, and you had the Crash Bandicoot commercial where he was eating the pizza backwards. Now, this is important in terms of this. On that demo disc was not only Armored Core and 2 Extreme and some snowboarding games and things like that, you also had a game called Metal Gear Solid. And the current rumor, and this is just a rumor here, guys, I found this from YouTube channel Red Gaming Tech. I'm looking at pushsquare.com right now, and it goes on to say that this guy's source that he has is really feeling 100% accurate to this point, that a Metal Gear Solid 1 full remake, not some HD remaster, not some port, is coming to the PlayStation 5 exclusively first, then the PC. So Metal Gear Solid 1 PS Classic is being remade again. It's coming to the PS5 and PC. This is according to YouTube channel Red Gaming Tech, who was known to provide some accurate leaks in the past, although they specialize in hardware information rather than software. You also heard this talked about on the Young Yeah channel. I know a lot of those guys follow him. According to their source, apparently 100% track record to this point, it's going to be a Metal Gear Solid revival and a full remake and not some sort of port or remaster. The source also states, in terms of remasters or ports, that Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4 are going to be re-released. So those are going to be remasters, but Metal Gear Solid 1, that PlayStation Classic, is going to get a full remake on PlayStation 5 first, and then going to PC. So this is a big deal in the sense of one thing. I talked about it before in the Death Stranding review as well, and you guys know about Hideo Kojima. I know PT and Guillermo del Toro and Hideo Kojima, the supposed Silent Hills, if you will, with Norman Reedus, that didn't come out to fruition, but Death Stranding was made, even though that was nothing more than a UPS simulator, in my opinion, although a lot of people did like that game, but I can't understand why. Nevertheless, Konami and Hideo Kojima do not have the greatest relationship anymore. I know we talked about it a couple of years ago with the business practices going on in Konami, making all of the beloved franchises like Silent Hill and Castlevania and nothing more than pachinko machines. I get it. But what I'm wondering here now, with the Metal Gear Solid 1 full-fledged remake rumored to happen on PS5, what is Hideo Kojima's involvement? Because that is his brainchild, that's his baby. Metal Gear going all the way back from the MSX days and the NES, and then Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation. What's Hideo Kojima's involvement going to be? We really, as Konami and as fans of, Metal Gear Solid, but not any of that stuff anymore, look at what they did with Contra Hard Corps and how they fucked that up totally, and it pretty much turned it into a formal shell of itself. Metal Gear turned into Metal Gear Survive. That was nothing more than a big pile of steaming dog shit. But if you have Metal Gear Solid, this can give you something in the sense of, okay, you might not have David Hayter as the voice anymore. I understand that. You didn't want to have Kiefer Sutherland from Metal Gear Solid 5. I refused to play it, even though the Phantom Pain I heard is one of the best ones of all time. I'm sticking with 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I will go back to play Metal Gear Solid 1 regardless of whoever voiced it, if it's faithful to what it used to be. In that sense, those games were excellent, and in that sense, the series died with me on Metal Gear Solid 4, and, David Hayter going back into Outer Heaven and just having that fight with Ocelot and all of that. That's where it stems to me as one of the greatest Metal Gear Solid releases of all time, was the PS3 exclusive Metal Gear Solid 4. But if Metal Gear Solid is getting a full-blown remake on PlayStation 5, a lot of people are going to be happy about this. One of those ones that's the grandfather of stealth action with mountainous amounts of dialogue, mostly overbearing at times. And the story can be heavily convoluted. I understand that, but at the end of the day, you're in for an experience when you play Metal Gear Solid. And if you didn't get a chance to play any of the other ones, even if 2, 3, and 4 end up just being ports and you get a full-blown remake of the first one, it's going to be nice to revisit them on PS5 or PC or however you do it, because we don't really have a backwards compatible machine anymore. Unless you have, PS5 to PS4, unless you're fortunate enough to have an Xbox console where they're pretty much going about talking about how it's going to be consumer friendly and backwards compatible with all of that stuff, which is good. Now, the one thing that pissed me off as far as the PS3, and it certainly seems like if you modded a PS4, you were able to access legacy titles on the 3, 2, and 1. It remains to be seen whether or not that's going to happen if you can mod a PS5, especially if you get one early, which a lot of these guys will do. Will that open up some of the legacy, software inside the console and allow you to play those games off disc? Or will this remake for the supposed Metal Gear Solid to PS5, will it come with some of these other games down the line, or will these ports also come to fruition? If not, if it does happen, in any sense of the word, even if it's just ports, I'm probably going to go ahead and get 2, 3, and 4. I know that's a lot more money because you had, Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance or Subsistence for 3, or all those extra editions and stuff like that. But even if it's just for me here in Psycho Mantis say, you like Castlevania, don't you? I think I'd want to revisit that one. So guys, a couple other things here for you before I get the hell out of here. There was also another rumor as far as acquisitions. We talked about Bethesda and ZeniMax and Microsoft and that $7.5 billion. There was a dumbass tweet that I saw, and I'm glad that Alpha Omega Sin, if you don't follow that guy on Twitter, I definitely suggest that you do that. He's a connoisseur of RPGs and he loves all things games. And we got to kind of pick on Officer Zach here on Twitter, and I'm going to clean up his tweet to make him sound like not a complete idiot. But he says, hell, with how bad Sega's been over the past years, I wouldn't be surprised if they got bought out by somebody at this point. They clearly have no idea what to do with Sonic, and they can't even make other good, appealing games. That's a big fat L right there. So Alpha Omega Sin, here he says, Persona 5 Royal, Sonic Mania, Judgment, Sakura Wars, Catherine Fullbody, Streets of Rage 4, 2 Point Hospital, Persona Q2, Valkyrie Chronicles 4, Fist of North Star Lost Paradise, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdoms. They're all from the past 2 years, and they would like a word with you. So, here's the thing for me. If Microsoft ends up buying Sega, I think Sega is in a current deal now with Sammy, and I don't remember Sammy making any more games unless you're talking about Guilty Gear franchises or games on the NES. I think it was Vice. I played that one with the NES arcade stick. Excellent game there, but I think other than the Guilty Gear games, I'm not sure what Sammy makes. I'd have to look into all of that. But if Microsoft did get a chance to buy Sega, I think that this might not happen in the sense of one thing. I talk about all these Persona games, a lot of them mostly on the PlayStation. Unless you're talking about Q2 or other Shin Megami Tensei games, from the PS2 or now on the Nintendo Switch and things like that, or on the 3DS, I'm not really seeing how you can have Persona games like that, especially in a Japanese market or overseas market, whether it be Europe, Asia, Japan, things like that. Those games are heavily synonymous with the PlayStation brand, and a lot of those guys over there get those games because they love RPGs and things like that. If Microsoft can pull that off, that's a hell of a get. That'd be another good thing for them. But I'm skeptical in terms of what remains to be seen of whether or not that is going to work out. A couple other things for you before I get the hell out of here. I want to talk about this real quick. I talked about the PS5 pre-orders and having the angry rant and all of that. But the funny thing was, with the Xbox Series S and the Series X, there was also some issues. A lot of you guys have talked about going to GameStop, being stuck inside the queue, telling you not to refresh the page, but if you didn't refresh the page, you would be one of those people left out as someone else that snagged it up, got one of your consoles. The other issue that I found with it wasn't just the date being leaked that was the problem, even though I'm in the minority of that. I would rather know when the date is so that I feel like I have an equal chance to get it. A lot of you don't agree. I understand that because you don't want the bots and everything else to clean it up. It still pissed me off the way it happened with the PlayStation, and I didn't appreciate that, whether it was the retailers or Sony and all of that. But still, when you think about it, a lot of you guys now weren't able to get a Series S or an X because of the limited supply. Quite frankly, they didn't have as many in that retail market as Sony did when it came to the PS5. But the funny thing was, and I hope that this didn't happen to you, I saw prominent YouTuber Troydan also fall into this lull, where he said, I was accidentally half asleep and I pre-ordered an Xbox One X. Fuck. You know, I talked about it in this video before, around August, when I said it. I said, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, or the Xbox Series X. Somebody is going to get confused. And I know a lot of you guys thought I was a fucking idiot. You know, pretty much I can look like a fucking idiot. You can say whatever you want. But I told you it was going to be confusing. And when I see guys like Review Tech or Young Yeah or some of those guys saying, holy crap, it was hella confusing, or even seeing Troydan, that the pre-orders, people thought that they were getting a Series S or a Series X, and Xbox One X sales shot through the roof. And they were saying, holy crap, I got this pre-order here pretty soon, and I'm going to get the chance to play this before it comes out. I'm so excited. You got the wrong console, brother. I hope it didn't happen to you guys out there, but just letting you know. Facebook.com/TubuGunslinger, Twitter @JohnRyanot. As always, thank you for checking the video out. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.